Good morning, YouTube. This is Odessa Tremaine, aspiring author on day 3 of my journey of completing my first novel, or novel series, I should call it, because it may be a novel, maybe a series of books. I'm still in that process. Ursidae, the Scenic Route, is a story about the protagonist named Prota because I'm lazy, and Ursidae is the being within her, the superhero. This is Soups are about public servants, caseworkers, social workers, counselors, people of that nature who feel called or led to do that job, but also have a gift. This book is about my transition of that life and my transition out of that life. And I call it that life because I believe in your careers, there's also a different reality base that you're dealing with. Cops have their own reality. Teachers have their own reality. That the outside world may not be accepting of or privy to. I worked in child protective services, and it was a very stressful job. It was very demanding. It kept me from my family. There was some very, very valuable work, which sometimes caused some adverse things. But then there was some redeeming work. That was my favorite part. And all that to say is, but I left because it was enough, that I was leaning towards going to past the point of no return, where once you become jaded, you belong to the system. And it was time for me to go, because God always had that gift in me. But we talked about that a little bit yesterday. And I want to talk a little bit more about callings and gifts. I'm just learning what callings and gifts is, although you've always heard of it, especially if you grew up in the church or anything like that. I always knew I had a gift with my hands, whether it's writing or drawing. I always had that type of gift. So I always wanted to be something like a fashion designer, illustrator, writer. And as I matured, the writing was the thing that really started to be a comfort zone for me. And then that transferred into, since you're so good at writing, it was easy for me to become a public servant, because it involved a lot of connecting and writing. So I wouldn't necessarily call it hard work, like mentally challenging work. It was heartfully challenging, but the work itself wasn't mentally challenging, because with public service, you're basically given a blueprint, and they just basically need you to be the exact, I hate to use the word executor, but yeah, you are executing what they're telling you to do. Callings and gifts this morning. I remember walking into my job around this time every morning, miserable. Sitting in my car, miserable. On my way to work, miserable at 8:43 a.m. in the morning. And what I did this morning is what I've been doing every morning for the past 3 or so years. Fixing my children breakfast. Picking up my husband from work, getting my kids ready for school, getting their breakfast together, and coming back, spending time with my husband before he goes to bed for the morning. When I was towards the end of my job experience, the demands of the job, the demands of that world didn't match the demands of the world that I was creating with my husband. And the lack of reconciliation of that was bothering me. I was like, how can I live in these two parallel universes and serve God when I feel bitter about it? And after my miscarriage, and I left the job to start my nonprofit, it was a slow walk. Thankfully, because of my husband, but it was a slow walk because he just allowed me to heal and stuff like that. But I'm glad that it was a slow walk, because it made me realize that I'm not necessarily a housewife either. So it wasn't like, oh, pick one or the other. It was, where is my place in this world? There are no binary choices. So where is my particular place in this world? And I want to reach out to people this morning that don't feel like they're in their place. Like there's a pit of the stomach knowing that I'm doing the right thing. I'm in a position where I'm helping people. I may be in a position where I'm giving back to the community. And I've been doing this a long time, but there's something missing now. And just like going to college, just like learning how to walk, you graduate. You just don't stay in the crawling stage forever. And even, just because you're going up the ladder in that organization doesn't mean that you're moving. It could just mean you're in this bubble and you keep, climbing only in this circle. And you're going high up in this circle and you're going higher up in this circle. But you can go out here and just, do all of this. It's like going up this thing here. Just staying in this space because you've invested so much time and energy into that. And it's hard to let that go. And especially when you know that if I finish what I started, there's something on the other side. If I could do this, if I could do that. And I'm not talking to the people that are in their place and they're in their joy with it, because if that's where you're supposed to be at the time, don't let anyone tell you otherwise, including myself. Say, oh no, you're not happy. There's no way you can be happy. I am not in your head. I'm not in your mind. Because where God sent me is not where God sent you. He may not. He may, if He calls you to a book, it may make you lose your mind. Because that's not your thing. Or or to leave, you don't want to leave because you enjoy the doing whatever that you do. But I'm simply talking to the people that don't have that clarity of I'm where I'm supposed to be. And the word I can say is, let the Lord order your steps. And I mean that is in the most literal way possible. From the moment you wake up, ask God, what do I do? Acknowledge that He is the one that woke you up. When you acknowledge that He's the one who woke you up, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? Don't get to the point where how we are with our kids, how we are with our parents, when they want to keep trying to help us. I can do it. Don't get like that with God. Try not to get like that with God, because God absolutely does have your best interests at heart. So if you just allow Him to order your steps, and the reason why I say that is because that's where the manifestation of miracles are, like in the crevices. Because if you're on His wavelength, you can find the treasure. But sometimes when you're all over the place, here you're jumping over the treasures. Like I'm standing outside right now of my home, just looking at my porch and looking at this beautiful shed and the grass that needs to be cut and whatnot. But, I'm sitting here realizing that a year ago, I was facing eviction. A year ago, we were barely able to pay all of our bills because I wasn't working and my husband's hours had gotten demoted so severely. For a season, we had a few hospitalizations that kept us away from work, and we knew things was getting ready to turn. He was getting ready to be promoted. I was getting ready to operate a grant. So we saw like God is just telling us to hold on. But we got to get evicted, and my family helped, my friends helped. We had like utility issues. It was just a complete mess for that season. But the thing, that season was extremely necessary, because it pulled a lot of my fear out. because I was holding on to that salary and that job for so many years, and I literally thought that it was I literally had in my mind that it was my source, and that if I didn't have that, I didn't have anything. And God showed me that wasn't true. So while we was going through that short-term crisis, to prove that no, you didn't need that, you needed me. And a lot of, I was a single mom for a while, and now that I'm married, it removes validity of some of the things that I say when I tell women, go after your dreams, just do it, because they easily say, well, you got a husband you can lean back on. But I was like, you don't get, that's not really the case either, because I've been married, divorced, married, single. I've been all of those things for a long time. Like, I was single longer than have been married for either one of my marriages. But you have to you don't have to do anything. I'm just saying, I'm looking at my house, and I'm looking at, just last year we had an apartment that I was holding on to. And I was holding on to that job because of that apartment. Like, well, I need this apartment. And while that was going on with all of that, boom, someone wrecked their car. Somebody wrecked their car. And I don't think I had insurance. I can't remember. It was just a crappy place. No, I didn't. It was just a mess. But lo and behold, quickly, we had to find a car because hubby had to go to work. I was getting ready to start a job. Got a car, ended up driving Lyft. A friend of mine was driving Lyft. So I was like, okay, let me try it. Ended up really enjoying it. Met someone in the car on my first day driving Lyft, or one of my first days driving Lyft. A woman walked into my car who was a realtor. Sat in my car who was a realtor, and she just started really trying to sell me a house. And I'm like, lady, I'm sorry, I just did bankruptcy. And it's just my husband who has an income right now. And she just asked me, okay, do you mind if I contact your husband? And she actually ended up doing that, and the rest is history. Now we live in this great house. Hallelujah. I didn't have to work at all for it. All I had to do was do what God told me to do, which was drive Lyft for a little. As soon as I drove Lyft, God set the scene for me to get this beautiful house. And then when we got the house, there was a book in the house, and I wish I had it with me, called Writing and Being. And it was a book about writing and meditating. And I'm going to tell you, like, I know that this is all by God's design. And I know people are naysayers to that. And I get it, because I was. When you do it on your own, then that's exactly what you're going to get. But there is a way for God, for you to follow God's design. You not following God's design could give you a lot of but His design is still going. His design is still going. In spite of all the things that you're doing externally, internally, His design is all a part of His design. He's going to take what you give Him, her. It's going to take what God is going to take what you give it, and just redo something. Just redo it. And it's going to make His purpose out of it. It's going to repurpose. God is the repurposer, the creating. He's creating and repurposing at the same time. And I'm all in for it. I don't think I'm going to post this video because I'm rambling. I'm listening to a lot of George Michael, so that's what you're listening to in the background. But that's about it. I just wanted to just talk about let God order your steps, and I'm letting Him order my steps today. Wherever I go, what I do, God, you tell me what to do today, and I'm going to come back and see what that is. I'm just feeling a little. I'm just feeling good. I'm just feeling real good. All right, bye, y'all.